Hi there! Today I have another project I made using Want2Scrap's Nestabling and Nestaboard. So let's get started. Here's a group shot of all the supplies I used to make this project. And there's a complete list of everything you see here at the end of this video. I do want to mention that the graphic 45 cardstock that I used to make this project is no longer available. I found it at a local scrapbook store and pretty much bought all she had. Here's the lacy oval Nestaboard from Want2Scrap I used to start this project. If you've watched my other videos where I've used Nestaboard, you will notice I start all projects the same by using a paint dauber to paint the Nestaboard with a color that matches my cardstock. In this case, I used two different colors of paint, and when it was dry, I added my glue and then placed my cardstock over it, using my bone folder to make sure and smooth out any ridges left from the glue. The cardstock was cut and embossed using Spellbinders lacy oval Nestabilities in the grand caliber. And when the glue was dry, I used distress ink to stress around the edges. Then I cut and embossed the layered poinsettia from Spellbinders, and starting in the center with my distress ink and a Q-tip, I applied a good amount of ink. And as I worked towards the flower tips, I started using less pressure with the Q-tip, so the ink would not be so dark. But by starting in the center of your flower, that's where you'll use most of your ink anyway. And as you work towards the tip with less ink and less pressure, you should end up with a nice even look. And you'll want to do this for each layer of the flower. Like in past videos, I shape my flowers the same way by placing them upside down on my A5 mat and a gum paste tool, or some call it a clay tool. I start shaping my flowers, and I continue until all layers are complete. And don't forget to shape your leaves. I do that with my fingers, and that's in past videos as well. Starting with the bottom layer of your flower, place a small glue dot in the center and continue until you have all layers attached. Be sure and let your ink dry before you try and apply your glue dots, because if your ink is still damp, your glue dots won't stick. After I had all the items shown here finished, I thought the flower and the leaf needed more color. So I used my acrylic daubers and started applying color until I liked what I had. By the way, I did end up cutting and embossing one more leaf, but it's not shown here. It'll show up later on. I needed a base to place my finished flower on, so I cut the smallest circle from Spellbinder's Standard Circle Small and distressed the edges. Then I applied a 3D glue dot in the center and place my flower on it. I pressed my flower on this pretty hard, so you might want to use a pencil end or something that you can mash that in there pretty good, because you want it to be pretty stable. I've had this fun fur for a while. Yes, I knit too, but the colors in the yarn look pretty close to the colors in the cardstock, so I thought, why not? I want to share how I work with Nestabling. Now this is what works for me because I'm such a visual person, and I want to see where I'm going before I apply anything. But you should do what works best for you. Now, the Nestabling comes like what you see in the picture, which is fine, but I take my scissors and I cut around each layer while it's still on the clear plastic. Now I can place each layer on my project to see if it's what I want. Then if I like what I see, I remove the plastic and attach it to my project permanently. I always talk about finishing the backs of your projects, but I never show this. So here is the back of my project. I lightly use distress ink and my paint daubers like I did on the front. I won't be adding anything else here other than maybe writing a little Christmas greeting to my friend. So let's put all this together and I'll be back in a few seconds. stopped here because I wanted to show that I added an extra jump ring at the top of the ornament so that the cord would hang nicer, and added a darker distress ink around the edges. And the crocheted lace, well, it wouldn't be vintage without lace, so I added it to the top. Well, that's it for me today. As you know, I always have more pictures to follow, and I always look forward to next time. Bye now.